Hello, 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 hello. What's going on, everybody? Back with another watch list. We'll do a bit of a trade review from our prep going into today. A really nice day. Covers were the key part in my trades today. We will go over that. A bit of a watch list going into tomorrow. Similar names to the watch list into today. What's going on, Sam? How's it going? But we'll try to make sense out of everything that's moving and see if we can make some money going into tomorrow. So, starting off alphabetically, JMIA. This one here popped on scan this morning. I saw it on the pre-market broadcast with Investors Underground. Emil had mentioned it. Looking at this big move, ABCD, a break through these 460s. I bought with hotkeyed in, risk on low a day, so I was risking about 10 cents. Went straight up there, was up about 30 cents at the highs, locked in about 20 cents, a 2-to-1 trade. Maybe a third. I didn't sell it all, maybe locked in about a third. And then right here, we got this little wedge, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low. Looked like it wanted to go, so I added and moved rest to these 470s, and it just started to fail to follow through, so I moved on. My average at that point was about 472, so with this add, it was basically a make or make more situation, so still ended up green on it for a trade that didn't work. Definitely can't complain. JOBY. Here we go. Was daily parabolic, multi-day runner, first time going red. We got a pull right off the open. I shorted it on its red move, risk on highs, got stopped out. Was about half position here. And the plan was, once we get that hard crack, looking for lower highs and a scale through opening range lows and be able to move risk to VWAP or red to green. And the pull immediately got soaked up. So I stopped out through highs. It continued going higher fairly nicely. And then we started getting these weak high-a-day breaks, rounding action. We get this first pull through prior support, failed follow through. I start leaning here versus highs a day. And it was, I don't really have a reason why I covered here. It was just kind of, it was, prints were hitting the bid. And the bid would get taken out, and then it would step right back in. So it looked like it was absorbing right towards those morning highs. So covered that. Basically only made back the loss. I was like 2x the size that I was over here. So basically just made back the loss with a portion of the range and ended up flat on it. So nothing to really write home about. Omex, I took off that swing today. It had some relative weakness versus TMC. I started locking in some of that one today. Off of its weak open, it gets bought up, pulls back, gets bought up, pushed on some precious metal tariff news. And Omex just, it pushed, but it was already red in the day and just clearly relatively weak. So I took that full position off, and TMC I locked in about a third just because it broke through that daily high of 810 and didn't continue to squeeze. So if that ends up being the high and starts to roll over, I don't want to have a full position and ride it all the way back down to my average. So I will, if we get a breakout through the 8s, I will like to lock in into strength as it continues going higher, but I will move risk to my average here, or 730-ish, and continue to let that one work as long as it wants to. Open was my main watch going into today. Was looking for one day higher, and then once this thing was gapping up in the 220s, then that kind of changed the game plan, going from a 150 to 220 gap. That's definitely an exhaustion realm of a gap up, and now we're going gap to gap to gap. You can see the volume this morning. It was right around 65 million in pre-market, going into market open, which was forecasting about double what prior day was, typically about 10x the pre-market volume, and typically about 4x the first hour of the day. So when we're going 60, 65 million, I think it was around 65, going into the open times 10, we got about forecasting about 650 million. So within that first hour, if we're getting like 200 million plus in that first hour, then that's starting to show that exhaustion volume in addition to that exhaustion gap. Now, unfortunately, we did get hard pull off of these 210s. I don't know what was going on at 210, but there was some sort of seller here. Once it got below it, it just kept getting hammered. So there is a difference between a 220 gap and a 180 gap. Unfortunately, is definitely A plus realm here and only like A grade for me here. I was oversized on this, and for something that didn't play out as perfect as I was looking. I was looking for a rollover red move and speed up, and it just didn't come. Just continued to kind of chop around. But it did exactly what I wanted. This 15-minute volume bar right off the open is clearly a lot of people bagged, and you get that sell bias. So I put some on right at market open, risk versus pre-market highs, let it do its thing, hard crack, lower high, add here, risking versus 210s, and then once we get this opening range lows, I scale versus risk on highs a day, cover into the flush. I covered a little bit more, no real reason to, maybe just a bit emotional because of all the ads. I put it right back on, and then right here I got completely out. It just wasn't breaking down. We got a VWAP pop, reshorted, added on this lower low, was risking versus 190s at this point, add. I had about 3x, like a 3R risk off of 190, so I was fairly sized into here, and it just wouldn't, it broke through lows and it just wasn't making new lows, so I completely sized out there. Ended up green on it, about 1.5R, and with the size I was trading, that's not really what I would have expected from something like this. I thought the risk reward on it would have been a lot better. So that's that one. So far, this daily chart is setting up in that close below its open. The same setup I did on Proc, the same setup I did on Mullen, the countless ones I've gone over previously. So I contemplated an overnight, but given that this one is running off of a Twitter pump, if a tweet comes out between tonight and tomorrow, then this could gap up, and I would prefer to react to a gap up given the amount of volume that traded. So I think the reward of shorting it into the overnight isn't worth the risk of a possible tweet, because this guy's just been hammering out tweets like every hour. So ideally, I get something like Nikola. I had compared it yesterday to something like this, where you get that big parabolic, you get that big top wick with blow-off volume, and then you get the gap up into that day's resistance, and then you get that quiet fader. So I'm hoping that's what we get, where we got this big pullback, and then it just grinds those shorts back out into close. Maybe we get a gap up. You get that volume exhaust into prior day's levels using prior day's highs as a guide. Probably this 210 would be that key spot. Maybe not high a day, but 210, just given that it failed pretty hard. But we'll be looking at pops into prior day's resistance there going into it tomorrow. SBET, the other trade from today, same thing. Gap to gap to gap. We got that big, we got that gap up after running for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days straight up, and now day 6 going into that Thursday, Friday. So we got that gap up, and then first time going red. So I shorted right on the red move, covered it all into the flush, rescaled with risk on highs. I was hotkeying this on my entries. So one arrow is 1R off a high a day. So if I'm shorting it twice, then I've got 2R off a high a day. Same thing here, 2R off a high a day. So I'm just looking for this rollover, and it just wasn't happening. So the 90%, well, actually, right here I gave some back. So more than the P&L I'm up at the end of the day. Probably about 105% of my P&L was made off this opening trade, and then this here giving back some of the gains. It just, again, didn't work out as planned, sideways all day, despite that pull off the open. Unless you're playing that range, definitely didn't act how I would have expected. And then TMC is just the last one on my list here, but I touched on that one. Started locking in some there. So those are all my trades and executions from today. In another account, I had BCLI. They, after hours, had reported delisting, and it was on SSR, but offered this bounce. So you got a few upticks if you wanted to get filled, and gets a haircut of about 40 or 50%. So probably gaps down tomorrow, gets delisted tomorrow, I think. But that was another one in my other account. Centerpoint doesn't allow me to trade OTCs, and this one is listed, but with it going on to OTC tomorrow, I'm never sure if they halt it and then open it on OTC or something. I've had that on was it Pixie, I think it was. Yeah, right here. Well, let me zoom in. This was one of the delisting days, was over here, and I was shorted overnight, and then they stopped trading. It was literally a zero. It didn't only get delisted, it completely stopped trading. And if I was short that at Centerpoint, because it was getting delisted on OTC, I would have just lost, because they couldn't execute OTC trades. So I trade it at Interactive Brokers, this setup, with the delisting news. Just in the off chance I can kind of hedge my risk that I can still cover it, if it's on OTC, if I end up having to hold it overnight. But yeah, really nice trade, wallet patter. One of the best days of the month, really, today. Okay, let's see who we got. Jeff, Golan, Stuff and Such, Chris, another Chris. We've got an imposter. Loving these nightly lives. Good to hear, good to hear. So, Vor bounced today after breaking down yesterday, so it continues to be choppy, breaking out of that little wedge. What did Toast end up doing today? I saw that one gapping over its breakout level. I took a loss on it right there, and now it's right back to highs. Workhorse tapped $2 today. That little short swing idea continues on lows. Small loss for me on Jobby. Played the failed fall through as well. Hate when they don't respect levels. Should have been red flag to cut earlier. Will be in the future. Yeah, after like right here, was part of the reason why I was quicker on the cover side on my second trade, because this was the first time going red in 4 days, I think. We're going gap to gap to gap, and now you're getting this day gap up and a red move. That's the kind of action that you would expect it, quote unquote, should fail from there. Especially when you get this hard crack, pop versus VWAP, it should not break high a day. It should continue to make new lows. So once it does that, okay, this one's not acting as it should, but it still could go red and maybe offer an opportunity. Maybe from 17, maybe pulls back to 16 or something like that. So I think the failed fall through setup is still valid, given the daily chart is still intact. But I think because of how it was acting was the reason I was a bit more proactive on my cover side on that second trade. That action from 10 to 10:30 where each high breaks over previous low. Each high. You must be talking about this. Each high breaks over its previous low. I don't understand what that means. Like maybe you're looking for this support to become resistance, and then this support to become resistance, and then this support to become resistance. Is that what you're looking like? Prior support to become resistance. So as it continues to break down, you want it to pop back into that support and act as the top, not swipe through. Big picture wise, like it is still lower highs and trending. So like the trend is still intact as long as it doesn't break its prior lower high. But yes, I would tend to agree that you would want support to become resistance to show it being weak. Okay, proc continues to fail. Really don't have to watch too many of these. They're not, there's no real patterns. Like game, I could set a price alert for a possible breakout and just not worry about it. Shug P, this thing's got no volume, keeps pushing up into 120 and failing. Top wick, top wick, top wick. It probably just fails, like completely falls apart one of these days. Once it loses $1, it probably just gets smoked. If I had to guess. ABVE, this thing pissed me off looking at it this morning. When I was talking about how picture perfect this setup was yesterday. And then to see it rip right to where I wanted it to. But on, it was gapping up like 65% at market open. What first green day am I ever buying on a 65% gap up? But when I'm buying it down here at 160, 150 on a discount, this thing can't get going. Like, my grandma in a wheelchair could have got moving faster than this thing, and then it gaps up, and that's the day it rips. Absolutely ridiculous the way this thing played out. DMC I touched on. Eric continues to grind higher. Carmel grinding higher. Omex I took off. SBET. This one had an offering in after hours, like a $5 billion right here. So I doubt I trade this tomorrow. It's probably an avoid at that point. Open pops into prior day's resistance. Jobby, volume keeps pushing. RSI keeps pushing. I don't like how many shorts it trapped in some of this failed fall through. It looks kind of like it did over here, where you got this failed fall through, pulls back, and then we get the same trouble. Failed fall through, but it overall holds VWAP. So I think you'd probably want to see VWAP start to act heavy. But it's hard to ignore this kind of daily chart, especially going into a Friday. So I'll keep Jobby on watch. This one just because it's pushing higher, where SBET didn't push higher. It closed sideways and choppy, so it's not really extending anymore. Circle, keeping tabs on it, just in case this wants to continue to set up. BTOG, I figured I might have got a few questions on this. I was talking with, I was trading with Kyle and Huddy today, chit-chatting with them a little bit. And some people over in Clover Trading were buying this breakout here through the 40s. And Huddy made a comment and said, oh, that's a miss for me because it broke through 40 and went nuts. Like, let's chart that line, 46.5. 46.5. Right there. So like you can see super clean break through those morning highs. Topped out there. Starts to reclaim VWAP right through here. Like you get super tight risk reward. So intraday looks good. But the daily, you've got all of this overhead resistance of hundreds of millions of shares. And like I've always said, I don't like breakouts that are gapping over their breakout level, that have resistance nearby within 100% of the breakout level, or resistance within the last year. And this one wasn't gapping over it. This one was breaking out through it, which was a plus. But we have resistance within the last year, and we have resistance within 100% of its breakout level. So that's an avoid for me. And Huddy made a comment. He said, oh, that's a miss. And I had said to him, I'm like, I didn't really categorize this as a miss when I'm journaling trades because I've put rules in place to not buy breakouts with overhead resistance that saves me 9 times out of 10 from buying failed breakouts. And just because this one worked, Dux has touched on that in the past, where he doesn't just short any gapper, he shorts gappers that fit his criteria. Sure, a lot of gappers fade, but he has like an 80 or 90% win rate on the gappers that he chooses, because if he were to take those ones outside of the system, they net out flat or slightly negative. Like, they don't move the needle because those rules put in place avoid the losses. So, in my opinion, what did I say to him? What was my... Let me see. Word for word, I'll read what I said. Whoa. Let me see here. I said, you would categorize this as a mistake? I didn't. In the aggregate, if I buy breakouts with overhead resistance, it'll be a net negative. Buying that one, I would probably give back that P&L at some point in the future. And that was kind of how I viewed it. I avoid a ton of losing trades, and just because this one worked, I'm going to use a hindsight bias of seeing it work, that it's a mistrade. I don't think so. Where if this were to now go straight up, ideally this gaps up and goes straight up tomorrow into this 90 cents, and then sets up like this into 90 cents, I would 100% trade that 96 cent breakout. If it tops out right around there, consolidates for 2 or 3 days right near its highs, starts to tighten up, and then re-breaks out, 100%. I would trade that because there is no overhead resistance past that 90 cents. All the volume is traded down there. So that's kind of how I view it. But I have it on watch anyways. BCLI I touched on. SQNS, I'm contemplating looking for a first reading day on this one. The setup hasn't been working very fruitful recently. But it's trading pretty clean. We've got a pullback here right into the prior breakout level. We had a multi-day run. Each day it sets its high a day off the open and fades, closes at lows, fades, closes at lows. Now we're right into the breakout level. So if I can get a weak open and use prior day's lows as a guide, join an opening range high break, set stop at lows, take the stop if it happens, or lock in like a 2 or 3 to 1 trade. So it's one that I would give like one attempt, not try to fight it, but buy an opening range break, risk lows, and set a stop, and see you later. ATNF, percent gainer, just keeping on watch. A couple other multi-day runners that hit scan this evening. UU. Not up enough, only 6 to 9. So I'll keep it on watch, but nothing I'm super excited about. QS, this one's a bit better, going from 7 to 14, 15, gapping up here in after hours. I imagine this thing's probably got some options on it. QS. Yeah, it does have options. Not a ton. We've got a couple strikes, like the $13 calls expiring tomorrow. Those ones had 29,000 contracts traded today. So like we had went over, you'd like to see those become open interest tomorrow and then start to fail under 13 and then get those market makers hedges to unwind, and then it would get hit. You've also got 11,000 and 12,000 at 14 and 15. So there is definitely some options activity, but I think 13, and I like how it lines up with a technical level on the chart. So I like QS better than I do UU. Let me catch up on chat here. Heard Short Bear talk about that. Hey, what would you rank you allies 1 to 5, 1 being the most important? Volume, daily chart, SSR news. MIC had a webinar on this. I'm just curious about your what would you rank your allies 1 to 5? I don't understand. Sorry. Could you please type that again? I don't understand. What has been some crazy ops since market panic bounce in April? I stopped trading after April. I think buying anything that had panicked would have been the market op since April. I put in a bunch of stuff into my long-term account. Anything. I bought some Apple. I bought some SPY. Banks, I think, did it. I bought some of that. Is it CM? Yeah, I bought some of this one. That one's actually performing really well. This is the Canadian bank. Wow, that's performing really well. I had bought this one back in the March 2023 panic when a bunch of regionals were going underwater. I added to it in that recent market correction in April. But man, that thing's like a double. Wow. Lucky me. I haven't looked at that. What else did I buy? SPY, Apple. I think most of it was SPY. I loaded up on SPY. I was telling family members and stuff, I was like, this is the generational buy that you look for. And everyone, I've got my sister-in-law, my parents, my brother, and I was like, literally, like, whatever money you have that you don't need for the next few months, just throw it into the market right now, because this is like a 30% haircut. And you get that statistically once every 30 years, 40 years. So the odds are this isn't going to happen in any sort of like a meaningful time that you're going to have time on your side to invest in it. And they were all just afraid of the tariff news, and that was just more conviction to my idea, because they think like the average retail investor that, oh my god, it's too scary, I don't want to buy it. And then here we are. So I think I doubled up my long-term portfolio into that. But I think that would probably have been the A plus moves like master. I shorted it here, like back here, but that wasn't this April pullback. That was before that. But we had master, we had NVIDIA do it over here. We had SMCI do it. This one was really nice right there. I traded all those. No, I don't think you have to anticipate the breakout on BTOG. If you were dead set on trading this thing, again, I wouldn't trade it. But if you were dead set on trading this, you can buy 45. Like, that's really clean. You could buy this high break at 44, this breakout at 45. I don't think you have to anticipate it. Completely nailed BTOG. Matt nailed it. Oh, Matt Rice, what's going on? Golan nailed it as well. Bought the morning base, accumulated, took a very nice ride, almost all the way to the top. Not my setup, just luck. Yeah, you see, and with you knowing that, I think is phenomenal. But like I say, in the aggregate, if you were to take a quote-unquote lucky trade 100 times, you're either going to be flat or net negative on it. So if you're in this for the long run and not looking to get rich quick right now, then this trade in particular doesn't matter. Like whether you made, $10,000 on this trade today, it doesn't matter. Because the next trade, you're going to lose 5K. The next trade, you're going to lose 3K. The next one, maybe you make a couple grand. And then you just give it all back. Like, it's a long, like, bigger picture, long-term game. It's never any one trade in a vacuum. Ranking my best indicators when planning my trades. So, volume, daily chart, news. I'd say probably volume. I guess daily chart would be first because that's the only reason I'm trading it. And volume would be a very close second because I'm not trading it unless it's trading abnormal volume near the lows. So like BTOG wouldn't have been put on a watch until this volume came in, but I'm not going to trade it until I get a daily chart setup that gives me a bias in how to trade it and how I can expect the next move to happen. So I'd say daily chart is probably number one. Volume is a very close second. News, I'd almost put like number three as the reason why it's up, because it doesn't necessarily have to be news. It could be sector momentum. It could be a sympathy trade. It could be news. Could be short squeeze, could just be momentum. It could be any number of things. So I'd almost say daily chart, volume, and then the reason why it's up would probably be like my main three indicators. And then after that, I'll go and look in the filings and look at dilution and stuff. If it's a large cap, maybe I'll look at some options now that I'm trying to understand those a little bit. Recommend go and check out Kyle Williams' monthly recap for good summary since April. Yeah, that's a good recommendation. He goes over all of his trades in the top ops since April. I like that. Kyle's the man. Kyle's the man. Definitely just luck because of market conditions, no plan. Yeah. If this were to do a move like this, get a bit, like if it were to chop, and then speed up and push into that 90 to $1 area, I'd probably react to that short too as like a parabolic short into resistance. Expecting it to have a short-term pullback, whether it builds back later in the day or not, but a straight-up move into that should have a little bit of a sell sit back. I saw, is it NAK? Yeah. I did not have this thing on radar because it barely has been trading. There's no real pattern here. But I saw it on my percent losers scan. And my God, would I have loaded the boat on this thing. When was the last time we got a panic this clean? A market open and just programs sell. Bang, 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 bang. Speed up, speed up, speed up. Volume. You get a halt. You get like 10 minutes to prepare for this trade at the lows. Like, my God, right into a whole dollar, $1, bounces 70 cents. You get a 70% move in 17 minutes. Where else are you going to make 70% in 17 minutes? And this traded 3 to 4 million shares over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Like 6 minutes at 4 million shares, you got 20 million shares. If any one of you are buying 20 million shares at $1, you should not be watching this stream. Like, this was any size you wanted down here in a straight down panic and 70% reversal. Like, just insane. I wish I saw it. I didn't even see anyone mentioning it in IU. Like, there's a couple of guys that mentioned some news and stuff, but no one had mentioned the panic. Man. So, main watches into tomorrow, probably QS, SQNS, Open, and Jobby, I'm thinking. Maybe BTOG if I get a reactive trade. TMC, try to sell some of that tomorrow. Ideally, it pushes through 8. But yeah, Open, Jobby, BTOG, SQNS, and QS. And we'll see where those things are gapping. That hierarchy of ideas could change based on where we're gapping. Anything else you guys want to chit chat about? Otherwise, I can wrap it up there. Cut it off a bit early this evening. Thank you. Have a good night. Alrighty. Sounds good. Nothing else to touch on. Oh, one last question snuck in there from Martin. Whether it's a long or short position, you've mentioned marking key levels on the chart for your trading, but do you always use stops at low or high a day, or do you use those levels? Open, for example, today, basically I use a stop that is as wide as possible, that my win rate is going to play out to the expected value, but that also keeps my risk reward intact. So open, for example, short here risking pre-market highs, it fails high a day, short here risking 210 key level pre-market, short through low a day, now risking highs a day. So I'm keeping my dollar risk the same as I'm moving my average lower to a key level that, if is broken, I think has now proven me wrong, that I'm wrong on this trade. And then once I get these ads here, if this were to break 190 after, so if you look at this, basically where I took my last ad. So with this action, if this now doesn't roll over to make a new low a day, but instead comes back and grinds and breaks 190, now you're breaking a prior double top, you're breaking VWAP. In my opinion, a break of 190 would send this to high a day fairly quickly. So why not get my risk down to 190 and save myself 10 cents, but keeping my dollar risk the same off of 190 and pyramid into that position. So there's certain scenarios where I will add to it something like SBET that was a bit choppier and not like trending in a certain direction. I was shorting with high day risk, red to green risk, and was trying to let that trade work. So the simple answer is it depends. But typically my first entry is as wide of a risk as possible to give myself as much time to prove myself right. And then I start to pyramid in that position once those key levels start to fail, and prove my thesis right. So on that note, good question. I will catch you guys next week, Friday tomorrow, and IU broadcast in the morning. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will catch you next week. Take it easy. Peace.